Hi guys, it's Lars Lehmann once again for Warwick in Germany, and today I'm joined by no other than Mr. Steve Bailey. And guess what? We just did some jamming, Steve on his Warwick bass, and I brought my Sadowski bass, which was made here in this very factory. And however, we want to talk about your signature model today, Steve.
Excellent.
So that's a beautiful bass you have there. What a beast! What is that?
Well, this one is the evolution of my primary model. Probably the one I play the most, which is the one that you see mostly online. It's the Steve Bailey model. Pretty much everything about this is identical. The Snakewood, the oven coal, all the hardware. The only thing different is the finish and the chambers. But the original one that I've used on almost all my recordings for the last 10 years is I like black, a nice solid black finish. It goes with any stage, any wardrobe, with a stainless pick guard. This one's kind of been thrashed and aged in some kind of machine, but my other one's shiny. In fact, my other one is so cool. When I use it live, which I always have one of those and one of these when Wooten and I are out touring, I pick up the black one with the stainless pick guard, and I can aggravate people in the audience that aggravate me, because this thing works like a mirror.
Yeah.
And I get the lighting guy to shoot a spotlight on me, and I can just get there and I can torment people way back in the audience, like find somebody and they go like that, and I'll just start messing with them. So
so this is a custom shop option, right, with the finish and everything?
Yeah. All of this I get is definitely custom shop in the finish. It's not stock.
Yeah.
And the original ones don't come with rust on the hardware, and that's something either I've put on because I live by the beach or the custom shop did. Either way, it's cool, but not like the one I play most often. For me, and I kind of told the story about the IBM versus Apple.
Yeah.
And getting with Warwick, and Hans-Peter meant it when he said, "You can dream it up, we can build it." And I had been working on this design for a lot of years through some other signature basses, all kind of focused in on where I was going, hopefully, with the instrument and where I'd come from, and paying respect to tradition and that lineage of the past, respecting that, because great tones and the greatest records I've ever listened to come from that era of instruments, and then finding a way to use different materials and maybe even amplify the real attributes that I love. So wasn't really sure about materials. I'd always been more of a traditionalist, and I knew the body I wanted swamp ash.
Yeah.
And I've always loved that sound.
It's very punchy, right?
Yeah. And it's just classic in every way. But I was open to new ideas for necks and fingerboards, and with the focus on sustain and definitely tone. And for me, the lower register's got to sound like this. Wow. And get that kind of sustain and growl.
That's beautiful, man. Yeah.
And no matter where I am on the fingerboard.
Yeah.
But it's got to be that. I get paid by other people to kind of stick around in this, what I call the cash register.
Yeah.
There's the upper register where you can... Girls don't like it. Just kidding.
Maybe they do.
Yeah, maybe they do. Cool. But the upper register, yeah. I love that sustain that I get.
Yeah.
Notice I'm doing a lot of muting with my thumb, because with a 6-string, anything more than 4 strings, sympathetic vibrations start to occur. So I mute a lot here, but I'm able to really be articulate up there. Middle register, I can get the kind of sustain and vibrato and melody. But it all comes back to when I get down to...
So what are some of the key features that are important to you, that you came up with? I know the pickups are, right?
Yeah, the pickups are fundamental fretless from Seymour Duncan or bass lines. And we developed these sometime in the 90s, looking for an ideal pickup that when everything's set flat, it's my ideal fretless sound. And that's exactly how this bass is right now. The treble is set right in the middle notch. The bass is in the mid notch. The pickups are in the middle notch between them. And I've got this one little mids boost that I've got pulled out. Other than that, it's just set straight up in the middle. And when we worked on these pickups, they were EQ'd and designed as such so that would be the starting point.
Those are Seymour Duncans.
Yeah.
And how about the circuit?
It's also Seymour Duncan. It was custom.
And they come together?
Yeah. I think you can get them separately, but it's called the Steve Bailey Fundamental Fretless Package, I would guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was happy to have them back in this bass. I let another company talk me out of them for a while, and never let IBM talk you into anything. Stick with my version of the Apple computer is Warwick basses, where anything is possible and creativity is number one. And so I got my pickups back in this bass, and this one's kind of road worn or aged, but on the original models, it's a stainless steel pick guard,
right?
Which I just like the looks of. I love concentric knobs because that harkens back to tradition and 1960 J bass and 1960-61. And I like the simplicity of two knobs. So it's a bass and treble, active circuit there with a pan control here and just a mute. The mute is here on the back knob. And then on the front is just a mid boost that if I'm playing some artificial harmonics, when I pull this boost out,
oh yeah,
it's just a slight 3 or 4 dB boost, but when I'm playing with a group, it really does make a difference.
Okay, so that's the pickups and circuits.
Yeah.
What else? I mean, that fretboard looks stunning.
What that's I've always been an ebony guy, not because of the color, but because of the sound of it.
It's usually the go-to wood when it comes to fretboards for fretless basses, right?
Yeah, if it's a non-coated fingerboard. Yeah. And I like the sound of natural wood without having the Jocko-ish, kind of epoxy finishes. I just like raw wood, and ebony, of course, has been a part of violin and cello and double bass making for centuries. It's proven, it sounds beautiful, and that's where I thought it ended, was with a great piece of ebony. That's what I'd always heard. But then when I got here, and in that huge warehouse full of exotic and beautiful woods, it was proposed to me that, well, if you like ebony, and it's hard, and it's got a great sound, you should check out Snakewood. And I knew of Snakewood as they made violin bows and stuff out of it, so I knew it was rigid and it was hard, but I'd never seen pieces this big,
right,
this wide. And of course, that grin comes. Do you have it big enough for a fingerboard? And the Hans-Peter grin was like, yeah, we do. And I went to this section of Snakewood, and I was like, wow, that should be illegal. And maybe it is some places, but that's some amazing wood. And we did a fingerboard out of it. And
so
I have
obviously
not gone back.
Obviously it's about density, right? It's a very
I
dense
believe
wood.
So, yeah. It's
so
a dense
Snakewood
is
even like harder and has more density than ebony? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what the books say, and my ear tells me too, because I do have basses with ebony fingerboards, and it's close, the sustain, and I don't have a clock to measure it right now.
Yeah. Check out that low B, guys.
But the notes speak so quickly. It's not like I'm waiting for it to swell. It does swell like normal notes will, but the attack is right there. When I play octaves, I can easily hear the pitch. And, you know, other than that, I like simplicity. 4 knobs, basically, stacked on top of each other, and some pickups, some great woods, a little indulgence on my stainless steel, homage to my biker days, and
that's a streamer body, right?
Oh yeah.
Why didn't you go for like a Corvette or something?
I just love the way a streamer feels, the way it's contoured, fits me well, and it was a great starting point.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of all kinds of body styles, but as far as what I just feel comfortable wearing, and I'd had a streamer before. Not many people know this. My history with Warwick goes back well into the early 90s. And so over 30 years ago, I met Hans-Peter, and shortly after that, I got called to do a record with the band Jethro Tull.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why it occurred to me that it would be such a great idea to have a 12-string bass.
Right.
But I've got a Warwick 12-string from 1994 or 95. You know, with a regular 6-string with like the double octave strings. I knew anything was possible with these guys, and they proved it. You know, it's simple yet effective. The neck. One thing I have developed over the years is I'm really particular about the spacing, and it took some work to get that exactly right, and it also took a little bit of work I've got an asymmetric neck, essentially, where the higher string sides is a little bit thinner than the lower string side. So it's not a perfect oval. It's kind of, I don't even know how you would explain it in geometric terms, but it's an asymmetric radius, essentially.
Right.
And the radius on the fingerboard, I should say an asymmetric neck, but the fingerboard radius, and I've got a little more curve than is typical. And I don't know why I like that. I used to play with almost a completely flat fingerboard.
Yeah.
But maybe it comes more from double bass of that arch, and I'm not sure, but I've just gravitated into it where it satisfies my needs.
Let's talk a little more about that whole process. Obviously, there were things that were important to you, but they also came up with ideas like the Snakewood thing. And how did that all come together?
Well, it was really one phone call, and I believe HP said, you know, this would be a lot easier if you just came over here.
Right.
And I made my first visit to the factory then, and kind of got my mind completely blown visiting the factory and seeing.
It is pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, because then you realize, wow, they really can do anything here.
Yeah.
And to see the wood pile, as they say, but the warehouse full of all kinds of super woods, and it was amazing how quickly with the team, just over a few days, we were able to create and mock up pickguard shapes and configurations on the body, and they already had some pickups here. I didn't take it home that time, but I had a playable bass in a couple of days.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I mean that I could physically play it and make these suggestions, and then from then on, it was just a matter of a couple of revisions, and we were there. And
did they send the prototypes to you, or how did that happen?
Yeah, they did, and the first one that got to me, there was a pair of them, a fretted one and a fretless, and they hadn't yet got the concentric knobs. that would become an issue. And they have, each of them, you know, the knobs are spaced out as usual in 4, which worked fine, you know, but aesthetically, I still wanted to get back to a simpler top look and all of that. And I remember the spacing was just a little bit uncomfortable for me from what I was used to. So we refined that, and then the second prototype was perfect. I thought it was quick because I'd worked with another company for well over a year trying to get this happening, you know, IBM. And then later on, with Warwick, it was quick. And sometimes, to me, that's a sign. That's more about the company being willing to do whatever it took. Because a lot of times, in my experience, the real time is in between prototypes and having a bunch of priorities. But they made this a priority, and everybody was on it, and the turnaround was important because of trade shows coming up and my needs, and everybody here was really sympathetic to that.
And did the model evolve over the years? I mean, obviously it's been some time.
It's perfect. I mean, I still have my original one sitting in my studio in South Carolina, and whenever I'm there and recording, that's the one I play. And then when I say it's perfect for me. Yeah. Every detail was taken care of. Now, it has evolved a little bit only in the body, and not even in the shape of the body or any way that way. Right. Just, Victor Wooten and I were touring quite a bit, and long sound checks and long gigs. And if you know Victor, he likes to play for a while, and we would stretch out. And the weight. And, you know, with woods like this, it's impossible to have a dense wood and make it light like balsa. So it's heavy. The basses were heavy, so I said, can we figure out a way to make this a little easier on my back? And within a couple of months, I remember I was in Europe and happened to be in Prague, and they finished the bass and sent it over to the hotel, and it had been chambered. And I'd seen some images of the chambering, and I was just kind of amazed at how you can just take these round chunks out of a body. Yeah. But it has to be done strategically to keep the tone. I noticed immediately the lightness of it when I put it on, and I was like... So that's really a difference? It is for me, yeah. For live gigs, I always use this red one or another blue one I have, and that's another change we made. We just kind of deviated from my standard black. Everything goes with black. Yeah, Once you go black, you never go back. All the jokes about black. But yeah. But that finish is killer, man. What is that actually? It looks like old leather. Yeah. Like leather that's worn, but I know it's not leather. Just like they did one for me that was rust finished. And it was real metal rust. It wasn't, somehow they were able to rustify my bass, which of course Robert Trujillo has a whole closet full of them now, and but mine was first. Let's talk about the chambering. Did it affect the sound in any way? If anything, it may have given more body to the low end, to these low notes. And in the upper register, I did notice a slight difference, and I have a problem putting it into words, but there's a expanse to the tone. Like I don't want to use the word hollow, but there's an inside of the note that wasn't there before. Okay. And it's neither better nor worse. It's different. Yeah. So if I play this, it feels a little different in my fingers as opposed to on my first edition Bailey models. But there's a, even in the sustain and the vibrato, there's a little bit of hollowness in the note that, like a breath inside of a note, if that makes sense. It doesn't really to me, but that's as close as I can get to it. in the middle register, it's just got sustain.
Yeah.
I mean, and
For days.
yeah. And that's one thing about this bass. You know, I play a lot of dynamics within, say I'm doing something like. So there are three different dynamics going on: the harmonics, the artificial harmonics, and the bass line. With this fingerboard, I'm more easily able to control those. I'm able to vary the volume, not just, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the response of it. No harmonics. So the bass line is still there. It's solid, and the harmonics are still there. And I've never been able to get them to speak separately at different volumes like I have with this instrument.
Beautiful. What about the brass nut? That's just a nut 3, isn't it?
I love the sound of brass. It is an adjusted nut, and it's one that my techs, when I've been on the road, once they figured it all out, we had to have a little tutorial on this bridge and that bridge. You know, it involves a little more process, but the amount of adjustability, like when I go to a different climate and the neck shifts just a little bit, maybe gets a little flatter or whatever, the quickest fix is to go in right here, and within 15 seconds we're right back.
The thing is, I have it on here too. This is a German-made Sadowski bass. Was built in the same factory as your bass, and so they kind of adopted that whole idea with adjusted nut.
Roger did.
Roger,
See, this is this to me is a testament to the quality of what Warwick does, because I've known Roger Sadowski maybe longer than Hans-Peter, and that's well over 30 years.
Yeah.
And Roger has a reputation that precedes him of being ultra picky, I guess is the right word. He's really selective, and everybody's known that about him. And to see that kind of radical change, especially on a nut, which is one of the between the bridge and the nut and the fingerboard, the three most important in my view points of contact, and to see that there just tells me that Warwick has been on the right path.
Absolutely.
If you can get Roger Sadowski to jump in on that level.
And as far as I can tell, it's just a great cooperation, between those two.
Oh yeah. What a synergy! I remember when that was announced, it was almost like, duh. I mean, here are some of the most articulate builders, and definitely with the facilities to pull off anything you can imagine. And then somebody with Roger's acumen for excellence. Boy, that sounds fancy. Put that in an ad, Roger. Acumen for excellence.
What about the neck? What is that made of?
I can't say it, but I can spell it. It starts with an O. Is it Owankol?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Owankol?
Yeah, I hear it pronounced different ways. It's not my usual maple, which has been my go-to, or some kind of laminate. And this is a 5-piece.
Five-piece neck?
5-piece neck, and
so 6 strings, 5-piece neck. Okay,
you do the math. From what I hear, if it's a 5-string bass, you would have a 4-piece laminate.
Probably.
What happens if you have a 1-string bass?
No neck.
No laminate or no neck.
Not gonna happen. And tuners, those are Hipshot ultralights, right?
Yep. And
is there still a little neck dive to it? Because obviously that's an issue with 6-string basses.
Well, it's really an issue with almost any bass, but probably more so, another 50% of mass up here. So I guess the lighter tuners certainly help. I've never had an issue with it. Never been that sensitive to it either.
Yeah.
Maybe it's my right arm anchoring here balances everything out, because any neck, but I just let it go here and it sits in my comfort zone. Very happy with that.
Very, very cool. Are you having like future plans as to what to do with your signature model, or is it perfect as it is?
I love it the way it is. I can't think of anything I would want to change at this point. Now that I've got the chambers and things are lighter, I love it. But I'll tell you what, I'm intrigued by something that Roger Sadowski is also doing. And you can cut this out if you want, but there's some 6-string Sadowskis downstairs that I've played, I've actually recorded with last night just to listen, to really dig inside of it. And then afterwards, you guys, nobody knows this yet, but I went and got a engraving tool and I engraved my initials into the body of those basses. So eventually I can see no other option than maybe they'll come to me someday, or something very similar.
Steve, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, great playing with you too, man.
Oh, thanks, man.
We finally get to do it.
Pleasure in every measure.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time. That's it, folks. If you liked what you saw and heard, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Hit the bell for notifications on new videos.
A little background music for you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.